get back into open session. We're going to start with our Taking Positive Steps of Service Award.
We don't have any tonight.
Okay, well, thank you. We're not going to do that then. And we don't have a presentation. And we do not have public input. Just going to skip everything. Okay, we are moving on to our consent agenda items. We have our vouchers. And we do not have any fundraiser request. We do not have any fundraiser reports. We don't have any field trip requests. Apparently a lot happens in January.
Snow.
Yeah, snow, exactly. We have our committee recommendations. We are getting backup internet. And then we're going to get our wrestling room, weight room, and locker room looked at for possible improvements. And then we are getting some Chromebooks.
For no extra cost. We're getting all
Yes,
those
the
for
wrestling
no
room, weight
extra
room,
cost.
locker rooms is not gonna be cost to look at them. And, we are kind of renewing our co-op for the boys hockey. We have no retirements. We do have 2 resignations. We have our co-curricular, volleyball coach, volunteer. We do not have anything for crew.
It's kind of slim.
And for regular staff, we have primary school educational assistant, elementary school special education assistant, full-time middle school, high school substitute, and a long-term middle school math substitute. And for personnel, we have 5 leave without pay requests.
I would like to pull the resignation of Coach Poles and send it to our open agenda items portion.
As football coach.
Yes, not as teacher.
Correct, as
Yes.
football coach.
Yes.
With that, I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Christie, second by Terry. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right. And now we are moving on to our administrative reports.
Let's take care of the resignation
Paul.
first.
Yes.
How
sorry
long
about
has
that.
Coach Paul's been a football coach? Do you know? Anybody?
He's been a head coach since 2004, and I think he was a freshman football coach
Yep.
and just an assistant since maybe like 2000.
Yes,
years
he's
before
finished
that.
20 seasons as head coach.
So he's been there for more than 20 years now.
And he is the most organized coach, like, ever. Michelle, his wife, will complain about how wordy he is, but he is, his emails, I don't think I've ever had to ask him a question because his emails are so detailed and he's very dedicated and he's gonna be missed, for sure.
Big loss.
So just so the community knows and the people here know, the reason they pulled the board members, I won't put words in their mouth, they pulled his resignation is they wanted to put that into not just consent agenda, they wanted to bring it out in the open session just to say thank you for all the time and effort and energy that Coach Poles has put forward and through the football program and everything else he does for the district as well. He has been a phenomenal football coach and
he's
phenomenal results coaching football, but more importantly, he has turned a lot of our boys into young men who have
Yes.
had great success as young men as they've left here in life, becoming fathers and husbands and I shouldn't say young men, he's had some girls play
And
football
I
as
was
well.
gonna say, had some,
He's had some girls play some
two
football
for sure,
too.
no, 3 or 4.
And he obviously coaches other sports as well and what he does. So it's not just about football. Dave is one of those coaches who really gets it. It's about helping our young people become young adults.
Yes.
And
Yes.
dealing with adversity and becoming citizens. And that's what athletics is all about. If athletics was just about winning, it has no place
I
to
was
be
just
in
gonna
high
say,
school.
he gets
It
that
doesn't.
too,
It
of
should,
how
it should be a
to
club sport.
just teach them how to be dedicated to something, work hard for what you want. And he's assured the boys several times that he's still gonna be around and he's still gonna be pushing them to do the best, which we know he will. Yes, he will. So yes, thank you, Dave.
So we need a motion to approve his resignation.
No, we're not approving it.
No, no,
I'll make a motion, sadly,
yeah.
to approve his resignation.
Motion by Sarah, second by Adam. Any more discussion? Sadly, all in favor.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
I think it also speaks volumes to, and it's just Dave, right? His resignation letter is like, I don't know when I should quit, right? I want to resign, and I want to make sure, like, I've had this conversation with him, like, I want to resign, but I also have like 3 months of things I need to do to get things put away and get ready for the new coach. And like, well, you can resign at the end of the school year, we can still hire somebody else, and there'd be a transition period. But he was so worried about all the other stuff, like, he didn't want to, like, well, I'm done, and now I can't finish, like, putting stuff up and making sure it's all set up for the next person coming in, so. It just speaks volume to his character.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so now, sadly, it makes me sad, actually. I was in a good mood.
The administrative reports will get you right back up.
Say, a few years
Yes,
ago-
that's true.
A few years ago, they lost the great motivator over there, Mr. Pertzborn.
Yes,
You were the great motivator. Yeah.
that's true too. All right, we will start with LCAT.
All right. So, school board report for 2024 for LCAT, January. LCAT held a Stride with Lodi Pride planning meeting. The proposed date for this event is May 2nd, 2024. A request to hold this fundraiser will be sent to the board at their February meeting. The LCAT trailer has been parked for the winter. We also discussed at that meeting how to keep the cost down, et cetera, et cetera. So the LCAT trailer has been parked for the winter. It will not be available for events until May 1st. The trailer continued to be utilized into the 2023 for neighborhood block parties and many, many sport team meals. LCAT met with Lodi High School's SAPS group, and this is science, help me out.
Science applied problem solving.
Okay, group. We reviewed and discussed the 2021 Lodi School yearbook data with SAPS members, and concerns such as vaping, mental health, alcohol, marijuana use among youth were discussed. LCAT held its bi-monthly meeting on December 20th, 2023 at the district office. Coalition members were provided updates on current items LCAT is working on. The next LCAT meeting will be held on Wednesday, February 28th, 2024 at the district office. Everyone is invited to attend. LCAT will be doing a Narcan presentation to members of the Township of West Point Board, the board, on January 11, 2024. This presentation will cover how to use Narcan and the signs and symptoms of an opiate overdose, the dangers of fentanyl, and xylazine will also be discussed. That xylazine is the one that Narcan will not reverse. Brian has recently interviewed by the State of Wisconsin Director of the In-Depth Program. That's the program for cessation of marijuana, et cetera. The topic of the interview concerned best practice solutions to support schools to end the vaping epidemic. Brian spoke about the Lodi School District's in-depth program and the addition of this program to the school's tobacco-free schools policy. Part of Brian's conversation will be played at the Wisconsin State Education Convention in January of 2024. We'll be there. Breakout session, vaping, clearing the haze, best practice will take place on Thursday, January 18th, 2024 from 1:45 to 2:45. Check out the breakout session if you are attending the conference.
One other thing that came out of that meeting with the SNAPS school students was the most used and abused drug that students have today is caffeine.
Oh,
They were quite concerned about that.
That's interesting.
Like energy drink
yes.
mostly?
And pill and coffee and
Coffee drink, yeah.
comes in all different kinds
All kinds
of
of
forms.
stuff.
Well, and the availability of that for kids, when doing the school nurse thing, I had more than once when a mom would call me and say, we're gonna see a cardiac specialist because, they went to a regular physical and their heart rate was really high and blood pressure was high and whatever, and it's like, well, mom and dad didn't know, but if you walk to school or whatever, you can pick up a couple of caffeine drinks on your way into school, and if you drink them down and then,
and chamber choir all performed. Following the choirs, alumni and adults were in the PAC were invited on stage to join all three high school curricular choirs for the annual performance of Handel's Hallelujah Chorus. And I want to offer a special thank you to our long-term band substitute, Mr. Louis Menchaca. Leadership Council. So the High School Leadership Council, they've been busy planning as well as executing a post-volleyball game tournament, or post-basketball game volleyball tournament, as well as a New Year's lock-in. At the volleyball tournament, self-created teams competed against each other in a double elimination tournament. And on Friday night after the basketball game, students had the opportunity to attend the New Year's lock-in from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Students who attended participated in a trivia contest, and I can say as a reigning champion, it was quite fun. Alumni pep band. So on Friday night as well, during the basketball game, high school pep band welcomed back former students for an alumni collaboration, and they were provided an instrument as well as music for the evening, and performed with students from the start of the game through halftime under the direction of Mr. Haft.
Cool.
Is that the first time they've done that? The alumni pep
To my
band?
knowledge, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And then the Patchwork Enterprise sale. So before winter break, Patchwork Enterprise held a sale of student-made treats. The turnout from this event was great, and the students said they really enjoyed the experience of running their own small business right in our small town high school. So in the classroom, students are taught the work skills and behaviors needed to maintain successful employment, and they are involved in all aspects of this program, from packaging the meal kit to learning how to use the cash register, and then there's some photos of the students during the sale.
Awesome, thank you. Student Services.
Hello, good evening. Prior to winter break, students from our 18 to 21 transition program and students from the unified PE class at the high school joined students from Baraboo, Reedsburg, River Valley, and Sauk Prairie at Just a Game Fieldhouse for one of 5 transition events hosted by the Sauk County Transition Team. This event gives students opportunities to try different physical activities that accommodate their needs. Some of them include the giant parachute, modified basketball, volleyball, badminton, etc. A special thanks goes out to our staff members who helped with the event: Adora Bilsey, Renee Moldenhauer, Michelle and Dave Poles, Abby Turner, Annalisa Lemelin, and Katie Bailey. And another special thanks goes out to Mac Chambers and Kogan Barron for their student leadership during this event. As you might recall from earlier in the school year, the district secured a competitive transition readiness grant for the district. Grant money needed to be allocated in 3 areas. So the first is the competitive integrated employment training programs. What that means for our school district is that we have 2 students who are attending Sauk Prairie Works. The students have finished their first rotation and are in the middle of their second rotation at Sauk Prairie Hospital. Some of the rotations that the students are involved in include the operating room, the cafeteria, supplies, housekeeping, and maintenance. Another one of our students attends Camp Creatability. This is a training facility that provides opportunities to gain individual instruction and job placement in the arts and entertainment industry. Our student is currently working on projects in the area of graphic design. Another area that this grant money is allocated to is post-secondary tuition, and what this means for our students is we have 2 students that are going to post-secondary institutions, and they're pursuing education careers in liberal arts, welding certification, and early childhood education. And finally, grant money is allocated to transportation. So in order for our students to access many of the great things I just talked about, they need to be able to get there. So we're transporting some students that way, and then also our 18 to 21-year-old transition programs community outings. It's not on the board report, but I do want to mention that there is a blood drive happening at the middle school next Friday. That's January 19th from 12 to 5. We currently have 40 of 56 spots filled, which is great. We're making really good progress on that. I got a notification from our representative at the Red Cross today, and the Red Cross is in emergency need of blood in our area, so please sign up if you are available.
Thank you. Primary school.
Yes. So first, just want to highlight Ms. Eakin's first winter concert. She did an outstanding job preparing our students for this opportunity right before winter break. We have the 4K Roundup on Thursday, January 25th. After reflecting on the process over the past couple of years, we've decided to tweak things to try to make it a more successful transition for our students. Students used to come and they would be separated with their parents for about 45 minutes. Some kids were ready to jump in and others were very timid and shy. And we just thought we want to make sure they feel really comfortable coming into this. So we're going to be having families all come together. There'll be a short presentation and then families can have a tour of the building. And then they'll be going around to different booths for registration, birth certificates, summer school, medical forms, busing, and vision screening. And then they'll get a chance to go into the classrooms, and we're gonna be taking some pictures with the background over here for future Lodi Blue Devils. So excited for that process. Another thing just wanna highlight is, Mr. Schuneman, are you talking about PTO? Okay. Okay. So highlight PTO, we mentioned a little bit about this before, but we do have some different individuals from the community that are putting together a PTO. And we had our first fundraising event, Culver Share Night. We earned $1,059.75 that is going to be used towards future family and student engagement activities. Another thing that Mr. Schuneman and I are working on together between our two buildings is the Lodi census information. We've put together a survey or some information that we're going to be posting on Facebook here shortly, just to basically figure out who are some of the students that will be eventually coming into our schools so that we can do a better job of creating that outreach between our schools and those that are in the community. And then just had the two really fun activities just in December. One was this Guardians of Lodi Pride Holiday Singers. It was an idea from our impact team to go out and surprise some of these former retired teachers, and we did a little singing for them. Coviston graciously donated the bus for that. And then our school families made some blankets during our families event in December that we donated to local nursing homes. So.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
Elementary and OSC.
Hello, so a couple things, first of all, that aren't on the board report for December, like we know, is not only about concerts, but this time of year, luckily for us, with the schedule change, it also means assessments. And so we do have the winter concerts that I wanted to make sure that I recognize Mrs. Roberts and Mrs. Eakins for all their work. But also, as you mentioned with Coach Poles, this was done after the board report, but you'll be getting more information about it in the future. But I just wanted to highlight, as you all were speaking about, my opportunity to get to work with him recently. Seniors from the high school football team came over and helped us kick off our next community value theme, which is determined to be our best. And so it was just great to see the way that not only does he coach, but also the way that he cares for our community and even students that he hasn't maybe even met yet. And so not only did Coach Poles, but the seniors that came with him did a great job. So as you can see in there, I took a little bit of our social media posts and tried to give a little bit more of the backstory and some of the things that maybe aren't there. So not only do you get to see some fifth graders doing some multiplication marathon and OSC going to the chamber, fourth graders engaged in their grade level math lessons, and fifth graders engaged in their daily language review, some readers theaters going on, and MP using heart rate monitors and dynamic warm-ups. But also some other things that I wanted to note was, like I mentioned, the winter concerts. Fourth grade had some guest readers recently. Third graders wrote some how and why, the attitude of a main character of a story, and an earful change from the beginning of the story compared to the end. And third graders completed their wanted posters, which if you haven't come over and seen those, you should, as part of their project on symbiotic relationships. And then also wanted to highlight just the work that staff do to care for students in general and provide a nurturing and welcoming and caring environment. From greeting to morning meeting, as you can see, staff just go really above to care for students and notice when things maybe are a little off, and so that we can collaborate to meet those, but also make sure that we're understanding the need for connection, and not just with us as adults, but between students and between other grade levels and between other schools. And so we just highlighted some of those in social media, but also the work that we do. The last couple things is our monthly Lodi Pride Community Value. So recently, our first one, remember, was Ready to Learn. Our first one was people focused, our second one was Ready to Learn, and so these are the third, fourth, and fifth graders who were recognized for those areas. Each classroom gets to vote students that they feel demonstrate that characteristic within their classroom. And so those are the students that were recognized for that. And then also, I went on a little bit of a soapbox for a second, but I wanted to just also know that even though we post a lot of really great things, I also want to recognize that we know that there's other parts of days that happen, and that's normal and good. And so just wanted to share a little bit of that and some things that students have been teaching me lately. So.
And I wanted to say thank you for sharing that, because I learned from that. So thank you for giving that to me. Thank you for passing it on.
Thank you. Middle school.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. So first thing I want to highlight is our holiday cookie exchange. So one thing that we have tried to do the last couple of years is find ways to have our staff have time to connect. And in doing so, we've created something called the SWAT team, which stands for Staff Wellness and Appreciation Team. And so they do a variety of outings. We have some outings outside the school, and they have some innings during the school year that are really just an opportunity for our staff to connect. And they had the holiday cookie exchange where they each brought their own dish of cookies that they made at home, and they were able to just go around and select cookies and take home a box of cookies. But just a great way for our staff to be able to connect on a more personal level. I want to highlight the 7th grade team for taking all of the 7th grade to Future Quest, and Future Quest is an opportunity for our students to learn about careers and career clusters. So this event takes place in Madison, and it takes place, I think they were there for maybe like 3 hours, but it's an opportunity for them to rotate amongst different stations, and for them just to see and become, I guess in the middle school we talk more about like career awareness and trying to help them understand some different opportunities that are out there for them. So our middle school was a part of over 2,000 students that took part in this event, and this is something that, this is the 2nd year in a row that we've done this. So I'm really happy that we can provide that opportunity and to carry out our strategic plan and teaching our students about careers. And I also want to highlight our winter concert. I want to thank Ashley Galbranson and Angela Roberts for all the work that they did, and I want to congratulate our students on putting on a great concert. We did a little different of a layout this time. We had our 6th grade band go first, and then we had 7th and 8th grade band go next, and then we had all of our choir go, and it was like a packed house every time. So I was super excited. I know Angela Roberts said, hey, can we do like everyone all in one concert? And I was like, no, we cannot, because we will not fit. Because we have so many participants in our choir and band, which is so awesome. Because I think music is such, music is something that, is such a big passion for a lot of kids, and it's something that, we talk about belonging. I think a really strong music program with this many students really goes a long way in helping the kids feel valued at school. We had about 70 6th grade band students. For the 7th and 8th grade band, there were 112 students. And for our choir, there were 80 students for the concert. So that's just a testament to all our teachers do to help make that a positive atmosphere for our kids. And then I also want to highlight an upcoming event that Adria said, the blood drive is coming January 19th. Some information about signing up there. We're hoping to fill our slots. I didn't know we have a blood emergencies, but just all the more reasons for everyone to get signed up.
Thanks, Derek. High school.
All right, thanks, Heather. First of all, as you scroll through this, there's the PDF form of it, kind of mess with the formatting, just so you know, so just bear with me as I go through. The first part is highlighting 3 classes, and again, the course catalog description is there. The emphasis of these 3 classes, or me talking about them at the board meeting, are individuals that are experts coming into those classrooms. So in individual physical education, you had Don from Breeways, Bubbles, and Scuba coming in and having a lesson with our kids, which I think is awesome. In photography, you had Melissa Lane Isaacson. She started a nonprofit program, Spectrum Inspired, and met with our photography class, which was really cool. On the next page in manufacturing, the Madison College Welding Program stopped in to Mr. Lick's class. We had Madison College welder Ben Newcomb and then Max Persick, former student, that was able to come in and show some of their welding skills to our students. So I wanted to highlight those 3 classes. Next up, we did have an afternoon where we had our national letters of intent signed by 6 of our student athletes, and you can see who they are. Reese Ryan, Jace Kalinsky, Henry Keppen, Brady Poles, Josh Klon, and Mason Lane, and then the universities they're going to be going to. I can tell you all these students are great athletes, and they're going to do really well, but they're even better students. So it was nice to see them, and they had a really nice crowd that came in, family and friends that were there to support them for that event. You can see our students of the month. And then as we go on, when you speak of Coach Poles, I thought of this. He is probably, I wanted to mention something about him too. He is probably one of the, if not the most enthusiastic homeroom advisory teacher, and I really mean that. So, you know, I see him as a coach, and he gets very enthusiastic on the sidelines, and I see him at practice sometimes. But in the classroom, not just as a special ed teacher, but also as an advisory teacher. He has a freshman group, and he works really well with them. His door did not win the door decorating contest, but they came really close. I think they got second place. But our APC, which is our advisory planning committee, which is made up of some teachers, Ms. Jelinek, Ms. Ashbeck, Mr. Sheldon, and our associate principal, Mr. Marshall, they put together this advisory lessons where they had to decorate doors for the holidays. They gave them a bag full of items, a very small bag, and they had 35 minutes to use everything in the bag. And some of the doors were pretty amazing, and some of the doors, I guess the word would be interesting. So they did a really good job, and the teachers really liked it. It was a great time for their homeroom students to get together and solve a problem. The next thing, Leadership Council Volleyball Tournament, Caleb mentioned something about that. So I'm gonna move on to Rock the Gym, which is happening Friday, January 19th. It's run by our Lodi Athletic Booster Club. So this year we're gonna have wrestling and then girls basketball. Part of it is missing because of PDF, but I put our schedule all the way back to 2017. A few years ago, we got a little bit of pushback because either girls basketball was not included or boys or wrestling. And Sue put together a calendar going back all the way to 2017 what teams would be playing. We started to include wrestling, I think it was in 2023, so last year, and we'll continue to include wrestling in a rotation with girls basketball and boys basketball. So that is coming up here. Lots of opportunities for people to win big prizes, and we always expect a big crowd for that. I did want to mention in the next part, holiday concert, and I know Caleb mentioned this, but Louis Menchaca did a great job as a substitute teacher. I would say that is probably the most difficult job to come into as a substitute teacher because there are so many different types of musicians, and then having to perform at a holiday concert is a lot of pressure. So I really appreciate Louis and his time. I'm gonna skip the NHS gift wrapping because I wanna go on to the 12 days of holiday cheer. This is actually something that Vince and Dawn Schwartz had started many years ago, I think. And the three people that really put this together are Pam Cunningham, Kathy Trinan, and Lynn Wergeritz, people that work in the office. It's not just about putting the schedule together, it's but about going out and getting everything that you need in order for these days to happen, and our staff really appreciates it. So thank you, Lynn, Kathy, and Pam. And then finally, SAPS Club, which was mentioned earlier on in this meeting, Science Applied Problem Solving Club. So they sent out a survey just recently to advisory, to our homeroom kids, and just to find out what are some of the things that they can start working on. One of the things that we just talked to a SAPS member about was microwaves. So we had a good conversation about having a microwave out during the entire day instead of just during lunchtime. Now, that's a small little thing. There are bigger issues that they're gonna have discussions about. So I really appreciate this group because there were some things that through this survey that I had no idea about that was necessarily an issue in our school. So I appreciate that group, and I appreciate Mr. Steinberg for leading them. It's awesome. Finally, the photo gallery. Now, there's a picture right in the middle that I did want to mention. And I had every intention on wearing this vest that Pam, Lynn, and Kathy, they bought vests for us for Christmas, which was awesome. We happen to be Chicago Bears fans. I had planned on wearing that tonight, but considering yesterday, I thought better of it. But those are just some of the pictures from around the holidays and some of the things that were going on in high school. You can see above our picture, the National Guard was there, and one of the activities that they do is almost like, what's the movie in the book? I can't think of it. Where they have bows and arrows and stuff like that. They don't actually have bows and arrows. They're foam bows and arrows. But they play a game that I'm always tempted to throw on a helmet and grab an arrow and a bow and find my favorite student out there and enjoy it. But I haven't yet, but next time I will. So I really appreciate Kathy, Lynn, and Pam for getting us those vests, even though I didn't really feel like wearing it today.
Are those foam arrows?
Those are foam arrows.
Okay,
yes.
because I know
It's very
my
safe.
husband was part of getting NASP in the school, and I know there's all that equipment too, so.
Yeah, very good. And that, I know it's recorded.
Just wanted to clarify
Yes.
for anybody watching.
That is the high school.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Curriculum.
So this first part's just a little bit of an update. You may recall last school year that the curriculum committee of the board and our team, we had a conversation and engaged in an activity where we did a self-analysis of the district's gifted and talented or advanced learner structures. We wanted to make sure that we were in compliance with statute and the Department of Public Instruction stipulations. We found that we are doing many great things in the school district of Lodi to serve our advanced learners and our gifted and talented learners. But we also envisioned next steps, and so we set some goals coming out of that self-review, some next steps. Then one of the first couple of things that we wanted to do is we really wanted to look at opportunities that are afforded all students but fit under that umbrella of serving gifted and talented advanced learners that are being made available through regional gifted and talented networks. And so we see a number of our fence post neighbor school districts having students who are able to participate in many of these activities, like the Scripps Spelling Bee, which we've done for a few years, and especially for our middle school students. We brought in our 5th graders this year to the mix with that. Math 24 competition, the Creative Arts Festival, the Young Authors Conference, this anthology project. And so we're happy. I've been working with the principals, and I'm so thankful that they've been able to get some teacher leaders in each of their buildings, where we're putting in structures where we can have these things occurring not only once if somebody is able to do it, but structures so that we can continue to have these things happening for our students year after year, even when we have administrative turnover, even when we have teacher turnover, that these things are guaranteed for our students moving forward. And so that's really exciting. These are some of the things that we've got going on. We just had the 5th through 8th grade spelling bee tonight. We had a lot of parents there. The middle school did an absolutely fabulous job of running that. I'm sure in the next set of board reports we'll have some pictures for you. And I just want to say Patty Heitzman and the judges that were up there and running that just did a fabulous job. They were just doing wonderful. So those are kind of some of the short-term goals related to this. Some other things that we need to do is we really need to articulate in a document that we can post on our website what those structures look like in the school district of Lodi for serving advanced learners. And so that's something after this school year, that's a goal for 24-25 to get that in place. But we're hitting on our goals that we had for 23-24 right now, and I will share more with the curriculum committee at an upcoming meeting. We'll go back and kind of review that document that we had put together last year. The next one, I just want to highlight, you maybe saw this on Facebook, that a big thank you to Connor Anderson, who recently, he had applied for and was awarded a $3,000 grant from CISA 5 for serving our youth apprenticeship students. And those dollars will go towards purchasing things like tools, clothing, and certifications, example, like OSHA certifications, for students as they're engaging in those work release youth apprenticeship opportunities, which is a structure that's specific for our juniors and seniors. A note about that structure, which I don't know if it's widely known by people, but for each graduate that the school district of Lodi has who partook in youth apprenticeship, we get funding back from the state that is intended to reinvest in career and technical education and your youth apprenticeship programming. And so for an example, last school year, we were awarded $7,759.84 from the state to reinvest back into our programming. So it's not only good for students, but the more that we have participating in that gives us more funding that we can reinvest into our career and technical education programs, making those better for students. I talked to Connor, and another just big kudos to him. When he started in 2018, he estimates that we had about 10 students at that time, roughly, each semester that would be involved in youth apprenticeship. This second semester of this school year, we're anticipating 30-plus students to be involved in youth apprenticeship. So that's tremendous growth over that time. With that growth, though, creates interesting discussions for us because youth apprenticeship, there are some requirements for districts as far as site visits, paperwork, things like that. So his caseload is growing, and so we're having conversations about how to manage that with our current staffing levels and seeing how we can make that work. And then the last part, you may recall that the board had identified that within our ESSER 3 funding, one of the things we wanted to do was continue to build our research-based, high leverage set of tools in our intervention toolkit for students who struggle in either math or reading. So you get your reading instruction, you get your math instruction, you get it the first time, and let's say you struggle a little bit in regards to that. What's a set of tools that our teachers can use, or our systems can use within our schools to help you give you another dip? This is especially for our middle school, elementary school levels. And so we decided we want to invest in that, and we've had a lot of conversations. Big thank you to Derek Pertzborn for lending his great math mind to this, and then also Brenda Otts, who has provided math interventions in other districts in the past. And we've kind of narrowed down to this do the math system. There's a number of different types of kits. We're going to start out with 2 kits, leveraging some of those ESSER 3 funds that were approved to start with 2 small groups and see how that goes within our middle school and elementary school as this as a possible intervention system to add to the toolkit here in the school district of Lodi.
Awesome, thank you. Our district administrator report.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. Just a reminder to the board and administrators that we all have a board retreat on Monday, January 29th at 5:30 at the high school library. And the purpose behind that is to build relationships, as well as give updates on the implementation of the strategic plan. Secondly, the Career and Technical Education Department, along with Mr. Jelnick, Dr. Carls, and I visited Boston High School, Wisconsin Dells High School, South Prairie High School before break. Look at their career and technical education spaces. This was following a day where we had PRA architects actually come out and meet with our CTE staff as well as our fine arts staff. We will actually this Thursday be going to some other visits for our performing arts centers. So we're going back to Wisconsin Dells, Sun Prairie, and McFarland to look at some of those spaces as well, just to kind of get ideas of what other people are doing as we look at our spaces as well. Wanted to give the board a update on our track. So we closed out our track this week. Our track was budgeted in the referendum. We were looking at spending $1 million on our track. As you know, it came in well over budget, so we had to kind of make some reductions. And the board approved a budget of $1,070,000 for the track. We closed out the track, and it came in about $20,000 less than that. So it costs $1,050,000, so that's $20,000 back towards other referendum items that we have. So we appreciate all the hard work that C.G. Schmidt did, along with MISE and POB to have that happen. So really appreciate that. A couple other big news items. One, the Sportsmanship Award, the Lodi community won the Sportsmanship Award for the football game. So it's congratulations to our entire community for earning that. This type of award is significant because it's not just about the actions of the players and coaches on the field. It is, but also the actions of our students, our band, our fans, everybody. It speaks volumes to the expectations that happen on a daily basis in Lodi. Right? You just can't go to this a game, a state level game, and win the Sportsmanship Award. It's a habit of what we do and how we represent ourselves all the time. And I really do appreciate the hard work that Mr. Jelnick, Ms. Mefford, and Mr. Marshall put in, and all the other crowd control people each week when we're working with our students. Because when I watch basketball on TV or I watch football on TV, I'm usually not seeing great sportsmanship, right? And from the fans. And we have community members who feel like we should let our fans do that. And really what it comes down to is, we don't allow bullying in our hallways. We're not going to allow it on the basketball court because somebody else is wearing a different colored jersey, or on a wrestling match because they're wearing a different colored jersey, because they have great kids too, whoever we're playing. So just congratulations. This is the 6th time. So it was interesting when you read the article, like this district won it for the first time or the 2nd time, and then Lodi, 6th time that they've won it. And I've been trying to reach out to the WIA to figure out how many honorable mentions we've had for the Sportsmanship Award, because we pretty much have an honorable mention every time we go.
So we're pretty awesome.
We do a great job of it. And again, and it represents not only our community very well, but it represents our athletes, because there's nothing worse than when you have your athletes play a great game on the field or on the mat or wherever that is, and then after the game, all the people are talking about how horrible your fans were. They don't talk
Yeah,
about
they're
the
not talking
great
about the
performance that your kids had on
Yeah.
wherever. So it's just a wonderful tribute again, not just, and it's not just players, it's everybody. So that's always a great award. Finally, weather. I was hoping to get away without having to talk about weather, but we do not have school tomorrow. I got a couple texts from my daughter, and a couple really excited kids walking through here whose parents work in the district office.
The grocery store got very crowded
Yeah,
right after
so,
the announcement.
So I let our administrative team know that this is a great possibility in looking at, I had a webinar today at 2:30 from the National Weather Service. A week out ago, it looked like, we have a major storm coming, there's maybe 4 inches of snow coming over 2 days, like, well, that's not too big a deal. As of 2:30 this afternoon, we're expecting 1 to 3 inches tonight, starting after 9 o'clock. We will probably be on the low end of that. So when you get up tomorrow morning, you're gonna look outside and go, really, we have a snow day? But between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. tomorrow, we're looking at 6+ inches of snow. We are right in the range right now, 88% chance of getting 8 or more inches of snow. We have a 45% chance of getting 12 or more inches of snow.
We're gonna get wind.
Depending on the track of the storm, so if the track storm's a little far, 50 miles north, then we will get less snow. If it tracks 50 miles south, we could be forecasted to 16 inches of snow. So it's like, and it's interesting, like, they've been talking about this for a week.
Right.
And I said, one of the stations did a really nice job. So when they first forecast this storm, the one meteorologist shows, well, let me show you where it's at. And it was off the coast of Japan. Right? And he goes, and that's why we don't know exactly where it's gonna hit, right? It's gonna go across the whole Pacific Ocean. And, but the meteorologist today said this is the ones that we usually get the most snow off. Comes out through the Texas Panhandle and comes up, and just depends right where it's gonna hit. But it was pretty clear today. This morning, they were talking 6 inches of snow, 80% chance of that, 40% chance of 8, and then in less than 6 hours, it went up significantly, so. We could get kids here, but then we'd have to keep them for a couple
I was
days.
just gonna say.
So, again, we just want to be safe and make sure. And just a reminder, we will do virtual days after we have 2 traditional snow days. So we will continue, and we will look and see what Wednesday morning's gonna be like, depending on when the snow wraps up and when things get cleaned up. Hopefully Wednesday morning we can get kids here on safely.
All right, thank you.
Heather, can I mention about the sportsmanship award? Just so you know, representatives from the WIA will be at Rock the Gym
Yes.
to present the
nice.
award. So they'll be there presenting when wrestling finishes right before girls basketball starts. So right around like 6:55 to 7:15 or so, they'll be presenting that award to our high
Oh,
school.
that's awesome.
Thanks for that reminder, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. All right, welcome back, everyone. Enjoy your snow day tomorrow, and kids, don't forget to help mom and dad with the shoveling. It's 2024, and it's our seniors, including my son's, last semester of high school. Congratulations to the students, teachers, and staff for making it such a successful first half of the year, and good luck, work hard, and keep plugging along for the second half. Next week, some of us board members are able to go to the WASB convention. I've said this before, but if someone told me 10 years ago that I'd be excited to go to this convention, I would have said you were crazy. But it's true. Last year was so inspiring, interesting, and so enjoyable. Thank you to the district for giving us board members the opportunity to go and become more educated and knowledgeable about so many issues and subjects related to education. We have an election coming up in April, and 3 of our board seats are up for election. Lodi is a great community, and it looks like we have a full ballot, which is always awesome to see. Speaking from experience, please remember as you engage with the candidates that everyone wants what they think is best for the kids. We may not all agree on the methods or certain ideas, but please try to see from all angles and know that people that you disagree with are more than likely not hateful nor mean-spirited. They are just seeing things differently than you, and that is what makes this world go round, and that is why this current board is succeeding right now. We don't all agree on everything, but we do respect each other and know that we all want what is best for our children. So please just keep that in mind when you are questioning candidates. Be respectful of each other and make the Lodi community proud by showing your support, getting info out there without being catty or hateful. And candidates, please remember that as well. People are just trying to find out info for their vote, trying to make the best decision they can, and it's okay if people disagree with you. As long as you are passionate about your beliefs, are respectful of others, and plan on making the best decisions for our children of this district, you're going to do great. I remember the excitement, the anxiety, and the passion that I was feeling and still feel about being on this board. It has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life, and I am grateful every day for it. I would like to say thank you to all of our current board members, all past school board members, and everyone that is going to be on the April ballot. We as a community appreciate you putting yourself out there and showing your passion for our school district. All right, and now, I always do this, I have to go down. All right, we're gonna talk about our family survey.
Yeah, so through the priorities laid out by the community in the strategic plan, the district has put a significant amount of effort into increasing our communication to all stakeholders, but especially our families. The administrative team has been discussing ways to evaluate how this communication is being received by families, but also trying to engage families' overall level of satisfaction with their child's school and identify areas for celebrations and for improvements. The district has been in discussion with school perceptions about engaging them to conduct a survey of this type, as they will help provide an unbiased and objective process for the district. The administrative team met with school perceptions and felt strongly enough about wanting to conduct this survey that each of the building administrators planned on taking some of the cost, splitting the cost and pulling it out of their own building budgets to make this happen. So the cost would be covered by each district building budget, and the district paying, each of us paying about $775 to $835, depending on an hourly rate of one piece. And so the total cost of the district would be $3,700 to $4,100. So this conversation was taken to the personnel committee. They brought it to the full board for further discussion without a recommendation. And I would turn it over, any questions you have too, to our administrators who sat through, again, met with school perceptions, had conversations with them.
Let's see here. I had questions here. So so I see that they have their whole bid here, or proposal, I should say. And so the total cost for us is probably gonna be about $3,700, is that what you said?
Yeah, depending on, if we do a thematic analysis, and then the reason there's a gap or a range there, it depends how long that takes. So they estimate between 5 and 8 hours. So that's the gap. That's the lower one's 5 hours, the top one's 8 hours, if they do the thematic analysis. Again, those are all things that there are certain, as you look in there, there's pieces that they don't do, or that are added on, they don't have to do. So if they do this survey, there's a base price for the survey. They do, one of the things that is an addition is a comparison report, which our administrators felt was very powerful. So for example, you may ask a question and 75% of parents say, yes, I agree, or strongly agree with that. What's that mean? Compared to who, right? Is that a good score or a bad score?
Yeah.
Right, so they pick districts that are very similar to us, and then they do a comparative score. So when I reached out to several district administrators and asked them, they talked about that being a very powerful tool for when you first start giving this survey. One of the districts I talked to is given this survey, they do it every 2 years. And now they've gotten to the point where they're instead of doing a comparison one, they're gonna do a longitudinal one. So like, how have they improved over the years, right, to compare themselves? And every once in a while, they'll do a comparison report.
That's what I guess, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm kind of thinking, not that I don't care about other districts, but I care what we're doing.
Yeah,
You know,
so-
so that's why I was like, I mean, I guess, okay, so 75% of our parents are satisfied, let's just say, I'm throwing that out there.
Right.
And another district, only 50%, which in my eyes, I mean, that's great for us, I guess, but I also was like, it doesn't matter, like,
Yeah,
I
so
would think that we would just keep aiming for higher, you
we
know?
always will aim for a higher, but it's nice to know if this is an area like if you look at several different districts, is this an area that that we really need to spend a lot of time and effort on. So I'll give an example for, I think it was the one school district I talked to said, when they first did this, they started getting their food service back. And the food service was like at 55%, which, sorry, Brent, that's what it was. Like, it was a 55%. Like, agree and strongly. And as school perception said, wait till you get the comparison report. Everybody's food service is that. I mean, that's the lowest score. It just is across the board.
Okay.
Because
So it kinda gives you an
everybody
idea of
thinks,
what you
everybody's
think.
thinking, well, what I want for food, and, kids complain about food.
Yeah.
So it just kind of helps you compare, and especially the first year you give it, you have nothing to compare it to. Like, is this a good score or not? Like,
I see.
sometimes a 60% is a great score.
Right.
We don't know it's a great score.
Yeah.
Right, so it helps compare it, and not just to one other school, but schools that are very similar to our demographics, similar to our size, right? We're not comparing to Madison, the Madison School District, we're comparing, to whether it's a Columbus or a Lake Mills or other schools that are similar to us that would do it. So
Well, and I'm
just-
glad that you said the administrators thought that was important, because
Yeah.
that's obviously huge too, so.
I would just add in there too, like, if it's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
please
even
do.
let's say that 60% score, right, like, let's say it is a good score, but we were able to say, well, who did better, right?
Yeah.
Who in the area did better, now we can say, well, what are they doing, and what can we
Yeah,
learn from them,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it gave us something more to do with the scores that we got than just internally reflect.
Okay.
To be able to look at what are some people around us doing that we could maybe learn from or grow from.
Yeah.
I think from the committee level, and just correct me if I'm wrong, if I missed anything, but I think we all agree that this is needed. Like, a great idea, it's needed, we should do this and we should do this regularly. It was just a little bit of the cost right now, and we understand that you're taking from your building funds. So it's important because you see value there to be able to give that up. But then one of the questions raised was, the thematic analysis, is that something that we want them to do and spend time on that? Is that something that we should be engaged in as a board, and not leave to somebody else to do? And just kind of the a la carte items, because they are a business and they do need to make a buck as well, but, this isn't necessarily something we have planned on budget-wise, so we just need to make it the best cost-effective way we can for us. I think time is money, and I think it would be very hard for one person in this district to go through all of the comments. I think, one really great thing about, like, a body going through it is all of the different perspectives on it. That was my biggest question was, well, if they're going to do it, what if we would have read the comment
So
in a
you're
different
specifically
way?
talking about just to be clear, because I don't
Yes.
think that you're thematic analysis, specifically referring to the comments. We'll get all of the comments.
And that's
you
where we
know,
landed,
that's
is
what
that
talked
we
about,
do
like,
get them.
We will get to read.
So they don't
administration will get
interpret
to
them,
read
we
Correct.
see
all of the
them.
comments.
They
It's
do,
not
but
that-
they
They
put
will
them-
put them in.
They'll
the-
organize them.
Organize them. right.
Correct, and then we
Organize.
still have them, and they're our property, if you will, so that we can use them as we need to.
Yeah, so a couple quick, I did have a follow-up conversation with school perceptions, and again, a couple other school districts about this. So school perception, one of the questions we had, like, if they put a theme together, will they put some comments under that do it? They used to do that, they don't do it anymore, because the issues they ran into, that, first of all, they would, people, they put a comment underneath this theme, and they didn't use everybody's comment. So people would complain that you didn't use my comment, like you just used this one. The next person would complain, I thought this was anonymous, now my comment's out there, right? Or you would take, like, some people write a paragraph, and you take a portion of that comment, and they're like, well, you just took a part of this, what else didn't you put in there? Right, so they have said that they don't, like, this is the theme, and this is all the samples, they do that. But they still give you all the
And
comments.
so we could read them all.
So, but I did talk to 2 school districts about the thematic analysis. One of them said we had them do it once. We didn't find it that useful, and we do it now ourselves. The other district said, 5 to 8 hours of time for my administrative team to do a thematic analysis. I would rather have them spend 5 to 8 hours using the data to develop interventions or how we're gonna do things. So, again, you could see it either way, and I think that as an administrative team, we can do it either way. It doesn't, you know, I don't, it's not a sword I don't think anybody's gonna die on, we have to have thematic analysis, or we, you know, don't need to have it. I think we can do either one. Again, I think the idea behind it is just trying to get, you know, information back from our parents, in as much as an unbiased way. And we talked a lot in the committee meeting about, like, how to develop a survey and how to come up with unbiased questions. And even like when we use school perceptions during a referendum, we probably went through 17 versions of that referendum questionnaire to make sure, A, questions we were asking weren't leading questions, because I'd ask questions like, yeah, that's leading, you can't do that, or, and then just like what the response rate is, what's statistically a good response rate that you can pull from, and then how long a survey should be. Like, they have it down to, like, you get it over 12 and a half minutes, people stop. Like, it has to be, they ask some questions, but then you're gonna take some out. This is what our, so that they have that expertise of doing that, which, again, we can try to do our own, or we could do our own. They just come with it.
I think it's great for them to do it. Do any of our administrators have any thoughts on the thematic analysis, like from your perspective? Because I thought you just offered great perspective on the question you had. Something might be missing.
So Amy and I both have experience with this in the former district that we worked in. We had given this at the building level to families, and I think for us, I don't want to speak for you, Amy, but I would just say for myself, when I was a principal and I got the data back, it was incredibly important that I had that number comparison to other districts who were relative to the district that was giving it. That really gave me a lens into some deeper meaning behind that question and some comparison. As far as the thematic analysis, I don't believe we did the thematic analysis. We really just combed through each building, kind of combed through the comments themselves, and then took that into account with the score you were getting for each question. So I don't have a lot of experience with the
Did it go
thematic.
smoothly, or was it more time consuming than you kind of, when you went through it on your own, do you remember it being like a?
For me, I didn't feel like it was time consuming. I found value in it. To read each comment. I thought it was important. If they're gonna take enough time to fill it out, I wanna read it.
You're probably gonna do that either way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna read the comments, whether they do a thematic analysis. So.
I don't wanna speak for the whole.
Yeah, no, but I would agree with the same type of thing. It was a really positive experience to have, especially like you said, the comparison there. I think the comments, yeah, absolutely are important, and we wanna read through whatever they're, what they're saying and whatever the feedback is. But I do think that those general overarching questions are really gonna help probably lead the specifics of what is the direction of the next steps that you're taking, so.
For me, the benefit of the thematic analysis would be that you have all these questions that you're gonna be able to get data from, but then if you don't, you're either gonna have, as far as comments, you're either gonna have to do that yourself, right, to get some type of informal or direction from those comments. And that can be, like you mentioned, it can be a little bit of a process. In my previous district, we did that ourselves through our own survey that we created that probably was very biased in some ways, thinking back. But at the same time, there was people in that process who, everybody does things different. Some people really like to see all those details, but some of those details of comments can get you sidetracked and not be able to see the overall direction of the overall comments. You can get stuck on certain little comments versus the whole theme and direction that the audience that you sent the survey to was giving you through the comments.
So can we just clarify that? The thematic analysis, only them going through it, taking all those comments and putting them into bins, right? Grouping them together.
They're
We
not
see these as
eliminating.
all similar, we see these as all similar, and then they just pass it on to us, or them. or
So we're
both.
still seeing everything, and we still can see
They're
everything.
identifying the
But it
things.
might be nicer to look at it more organized.
Yeah, they're not grouping comments together, they're just organized. These are the themes that have emerged.
That they
from-
see coming out of those.
Out of the comments.
And maybe the first time doing a survey, it's wise
To do
to
the.
do
That's
that.
kind of what I'm
Right.
thinking, like if we do
And
this
then-
again and we're like, it really wasn't, then maybe we can cut that part, but I feel like we wanna at least, we don't wanna spend this money and then it's like
And the money
kinda
that they're
overwhelming and then putting you guys
charging.
through.
It's $500 to $700, which
Right.
is money, but in our
Yeah.
budget, that's.
Considering how
almost no
much
more.
time it might take trying to wrap your head around that the first time through, that might, again, the balance is, how much time are they taking you know. And then you have an example for next time, like then maybe you can do your own analysis next time, because you
Yeah.
sort of have an idea.
Yeah.
So I have several questions. Are these on this page 2 of the Lodi Family Survey proposal? They're kind of right under the parent surveys, kind of bolded. Are those the questions that are going to be asked, those 6?
There's more questions. Those are the themes I think
Okay.
they're looking for. So it's like a 12-minute survey.
Are
So
you on
the
page 2?
themes that she's talking about are communication,
Yeah.
Informed,
bolded.
included? I mean, those are
Oh,
questions.
are, you're right, are you
They're
informed,
questions.
are you being included, are you seeing educational excellence? What about the atmosphere of the district and your experience with your students?
So they're gonna ask questions that fall into
Around
those
those ideas.
6 different areas that feed into those.
So are they gonna be the same questions as comparable questions from other districts that we will compare to? Or can they be completely different, which then, why do we need that information? I also have a couple more. Excuse me.
Clarify that one
One
more.
at a time.
Well,
Yours-
are the questions the same as, say, Sauk or Columbus or Poinette, or, you know, if they're different questions, then,
Why are we doing
I mean,
comparison?
so a thematic analysis is a qualitative, not a quantitative. So that's them, in my opinion, this is how I see it, how my brain's working. That's school perceptions, analyzing the data for us. And my last question is there another company that does this?
So let's walk through backwards.
That was a lot, sorry.
Yeah, so one at a time.
Yeah.
So if we walk back through, now I gotta remember them all. What was your first one?
The question, are these the
So
questions or just?
those are just the, I think, the overarching theme, that they have questions that feed into those. So they're not just 6 questions and the survey's over. There's questions that feed in that we get to review. So if there's specific things we want to ask, we can add them. But the more we add and tweak it, the less we can compare to other districts, right? So
Right.
the idea is that we want to keep it very similar to what other districts are. Otherwise, that comparison port is not beneficial for us. So we'll have an opportunity as an administrative team to go through and decide, like, what questions are we going to ask? They have their standard survey they give. And if there may be something that is specific to Lodi, like, for example, we might want to ask about the Lodi Pride campaign, which is one that just popped in my head. Like, we might want to ask something about that, which no other district would ask about. So we can maybe add that. But they're going to be very cognizant about, like, this, how much we can't be adding too many questions because it's going to add time, or these are a couple we would take off, and then there's certain things that you just can't compare to other districts. But the idea behind the comparison is you are asking the same questions. Otherwise, you can't really compare. It's comparing apples to oranges. So that's the, the quantitative side. The thematic piece is just comments that people are putting in. Like, you have an opportunity to share comments, as we did during the referendum, or like even when we did surveys around COVID, we had opportunity for people to put in comments, because people want to feel heard. And there may be something that we didn't ask the question, right? We might have asked that question, and I get a survey, and I want to say something about this. So it gives people the opportunity. If we didn't ask the question they wanted to their information they want to give us, they can give it to us. And then they provide a thematic analysis, more of a qualitative piece on those comments, which is separate from the.
Because that's just our school.
But, I mean, theoretically, the way somebody interprets that comment could be different from somebody else, right?
That's why
Absolutely.
they're
Or am I
all gonna
looking,
read it.
am I going way in the weeds on this?
No, it could be, right? So one of the reasons you would have somebody, you'd want maybe somebody from school perceptions to do it versus us. Like, and I think Eric kind of touched on this, like, I may get caught, like, I have biases too, right? We all do.
Yeah.
Like, I have internal biases from this district. And it's gonna come across as, well, Vince decided, right, that these are the themes that came out. Well, Vince could have said that those are the themes that are probably gonna come out anyhow. Or I get caught into, like, this is a really negative comment, and one comment makes me a theme almost, like I start pulling things into that, because that's how we kind of we like to look at things. I shouldn't like to look at, but we tend to look at the negative versus the positive. Versus having somebody who does this and could really care less whether it makes the district look good or bad, right? I have a vested interest of whether the district looks good.
Right.
School perception has no vested interest whether the district looks good, right? They want to have it, they want to provide that information in an unbiased way, because they really don't have any connection to our district in that way. That can be good or bad,
Right.
depending on how you take it. So-
And then, I just thought of another question. Obviously, is there somebody else, another company that does this? And every time you go back to school perceptions, are they tacking on, you know, another dollar amount and more that it all of a sudden gets above and beyond what you've contracted with them? I mean, I just want people to know, I don't have a problem per se of a survey. I don't want to come across that way, but I want it to be good data that we can, whether it's good or bad, like you said.
So as I said, I reached out to a couple districts. They really, again, one district has just started to use it. They really appreciate it. The other district's been using this for several years, and they find it very beneficial. They do it every 2 years.
Sure.
Every 2 years, they don't do it just for families, they also do it for staff. And so and students, so they give all 3 of those surveys every 2 years, and they found that'd be very beneficial. They're all cognizant of the cost.
The same survey, or do they change it up?
Again, they can change, like something comes up, like we just tried a Lodi Pride campaign, or we did this, you can add some questions. But typically, it's very similar because you want to be able to compare to what was given 2 years ago or 4 years ago, and are we improving in these areas or we're not improving in these areas?
I mean, to me, having taken surveys and been, you know, being in healthcare, we do them all the time, I don't have a problem with those 6 bullet points as being questioned. You know, as being questions, and then a comment. Maybe not on everyone, but maybe at the end, I don't know.
But I think you have to get more in depth than 6 questions, right? You can't, that would be my feeling. I don't think if I asked people if, a question is, do you like how you receive information? Yes or no? Yes. How are you getting your information? Is it through, like?
We would want to say, do you read the quarterly thing?
Yeah.
Do you get this? Do you do
Right.
this?
You know,
We would
what's
want
your
to say
highest
stuff
one?
like that.
You want to be able to dig into it a little
So
bit
we know.
more depth,
Right.
so we can say, this communication is working for some parents, this is working for others, this is working for nobody, this works
Right.
for everybody. Like, for example, I would use as the board summary report that, we put a lot of time in putting that in. Tomorrow, I will spend a lot of time. I don't think it's gets read by a whole lot of people. Like,
I know.
the staff does, I think do. I don't think the community references it a whole
Yeah.
lot. Is it a useful tool and a useful amount of our time to put that
We
together?
want to know that.
So that goes out to any email address we have for families?
It's
Or of students?
the board
Yeah.
summary or this survey?
No, the board summary.
Board summary lives on our, you can
On the website.
subscribe to it, it lives on our website.
Oh,
And we
okay.
put stuff in the community link where you could
Right.
subscribe to that. That brings up a question, though, I know that was asked during the committee meeting, was who does this go to for families? So what it would go to is every adult, you know, if you have 2 parents in a household and they both have separate email addresses, it would go to both email addresses, and they both have the opportunity to do it. Or, you know, because they have no way of knowing if there's
If
2
they're
parents in
separate.
one house,
Or
2
two
parents in
parents.
separate houses,
Right.
or it's just every email address that's with a guardian, right?
Right.
And if a household only has 1 email address for 2 guardians, then they can make a request that says, I would like another code and another survey, and then we can send that to that person. Because that was a question that came up, like, how does this get out to,
Right.
like, does it go out to 1 to each household, or both parents, or things of that nature? So I was able to follow up and ask that question as well.
Sarah, that was one of my questions that we talked to at the committee level about the questions that they would come up with. They are they're proprietary, right? They're not gonna give them away, is what's been said. But they are statistically proven to have been asked in a way to draw out the best data possible, which is what really helped me wrap my brain around it, because I said, why do we need a company to get the information that we want to know? Let's just ask our parents and
Yeah,
do it a
why
lot
not just do
cheaper.
like a Survey Monkey?
Right. And Vince pointed out that this company, and this is what they do, they're professionals in this, and so statistically, asking these specific questions in this very specific way is what's getting us that raw data that we want, which is why there's that cost with it, because that was my very first question, was the cost.
So.
And I think it's worth it, given
Right.
that they're professionals at it.
What was, how do I say this? I'm just gonna say, what was the issue with the school board referendum? It wasn't so much the data as it was the comments? Or,
Yeah, so there was
I
some
mean,
concern.
I'm just trying to,
Yeah,
you
so
know,
there was a couple.
because I wasn't here at that time.
Right, there was a couple people who had some concerns about the analysis they did on comments. So, again, they were looking at, when we looked at the referendum for school perceptions, we were looking at the referendum question, like the questions and comments and themes that had to do
Right.
with the referendum. Like, there was COVID question, people would talk about COVID.
Right.
So we didn't talk a whole lot about the themes of COVID, because it really didn't reference what we were looking at
Right.
for the survey.
Okay.
So there was some questions, but we also were very open with our themes, right? Typically people, or not themes, comments. Typically, like, we take those and we analyze them. We don't open them up. But for the referendum, we did,
Yeah.
right? We were one of the only districts that did that. Like, we posted them
Well, and the way
online.
you read, you know,
But
a
we
comment, I.
posted them after we went through them.
Right, no, I get that, but I'm just saying, like, you could read it one way, I could read it another, you could read it a third way, and, you know, on and on and on, so.
In school as I said, school perceptions, we use them in the referendum. They help the board make some decisions, and they were within a percentage point of where the vote came down for the referendum. And I thought they did a very excellent job of presenting that information virtually, which is what they would do here as well. Or if you don't, I mean, they don't have to, right? That's an extra cost of a night for them to come and present that information. They could just give us the information, we could present that information. But they did a really excellent job with the referendum, talking about it. Like, for example, one of the things they did the referendum was really great was, you talk about the I don't knows, right? And, having a conversation about the statistics show that the Wisconsin nice, right? The Midwest nice. I don't know means no for 2/3 of the people. So 2/3 of the people we're putting in the no category, and 1/3 we're putting in yes. And weighing, like, this is what our population between, ages of 60 and 80, this is what they're saying. And we weigh that a little more heavy because we know they're gonna go vote. This is what the 18 to 24 said. They don't vote as much, right? So, and just really knowing the statistics and pieces of that background, again, it was a very powerful survey, and one that's used throughout the state. Right.
And you said they've improved a little bit even, school perceptions in general,
They're always
how
looking at
they have done it too, so.
Well, I'm good,
Jill,
I'm
were you
good, I got
gonna
my
say
answers.
something or no?
Yeah, sorry.
Looking right at me.
Way back.
No, actually, I was gonna say that when School Perceptions did that presentation about all the data, I really appreciate the unbiased view of collecting that data and giving an interpretation. And some of the things that Vince just brought up were really key for me in understanding it. So I thought they did an excellent job presenting that. And again, an unbiased view. We've mentioned that a few times, that we are biased individuals, we just are.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But to provide information without those biases is really, really important. So I really appreciate the presentation they did way back years ago.
Okay, good to know.
I appreciate the discussion.
This discussion was great.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
very
wanna
informative for people.
hold it up anymore, but.
No, it was, I think, all great points that were brought up.
No, your job is
No,
here.
I know, but I just, I wanna do the right thing, and,
No?
I mean, it sounds like the committee had lots of discussion and very thorough discussion, and felt good.
That's
with
why it
moving
comes
ahead.
to the full board, because we all,
Yep,
So who would like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the family survey proposal from school perceptions as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Adam, second by Angie. Any more discussion?
After it's all said and done, as far as like comments and concerns, are you expecting anything from the board on that, or are you just gonna let them handle it and present it?
I would think we will also look at, the themes and things that come up, and then we will have them do a board presentation
Okay.
to us. I think it would be, and they'll do it virtually. I was really nervous when they did it, like, the board, it was during COVID, right? So, like, when they did the presentation, they were gonna do it virtually. I'm like, oh, this is some high-level stuff, and they knocked it out of the ballpark. I was very impressed, like, how well they explained things, and
Sure.
so they did a really nice job, so I think they will do the same thing for us.
Great. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right.
our transportation contract.
Yeah, so our current transportation contract is set to expire here at the end of June. We had a one-year amendment to it. So encloses a memo from Brent talking about a renewal with a contract with Cobussen for a 5-year renewal. The contract was reviewed by the Facility and Finance Committee, who moved to a full board recommendation of approval. So Brent is here if you have any questions. We also have representatives from Cobussen. So Christine Betcher is our terminal manager. Tom Quickenbus is also down there as one of the dispatchers. And then Simon Gillingham is the regional manager. They're all here as well if we have any questions.
You said Christine?
Yes.
Thank you. I mean, we have heard nothing but wonderful things about you, so.
Good to hear that.
Yeah.
And I met your son the other night.
Thank you, by the way.
Yes, he liked our cookies.
And the de-escalator cross.
So it's basically
Yeah.
the same contract except for obviously inflation. Is basically what it comes down to. There's no major changes.
And we talked about that and,
We were expecting.
about different companies
Yeah.
and, and Brent's got a really good relationship with them and, I mean, it just seemed like a no-brainer,
Yeah, and it
honestly.
seems like
with-
it's been going really well this year,
Yeah.
from what we've heard at least. I hope.
Yeah, we were expecting, to be honest with you, a little higher increase. I know. So we shared that with everybody. So it was a good conversation, and we asked for some changes in the contract, and some of them were made, some of them were not. We had a conversation of why they weren't made, if they weren't, and felt satisfied with that. So again, have a very good relationship with Cobussen. I think we've really improved our relationship over the last 12 months, and we meet monthly and have conversations, and it's just been great.
I will make a motion to approve the 2024-29 Cobussen Bus Transportation Contract as presented.
And I'll second that.
Motion by Sarah, second by Terry. Any more discussion? Thank you guys for everything.
Yeah, thanks for sitting through everything.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I will abstain due to my husband being an employee of the
Okay, motion passes 5-0, one abstain. All right.
Thanks so much for
Thank you
keeping
guys
them
for
safe.
sitting here and being here for questions. I guess no questions are a good thing.
Oh, it was pretty clear.
Well, I was gonna say, Brent and Vince really did a good job at the committee level with everything that we talked about, so.
All right,
You guys
open
don't have to
and,
stick around.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Open enrollment.
The school board, at its January meeting, is required to designate for the following school year the number of open enrolled regular education spaces by grade and number of open enrolled special education spaces by program or services. The administrative team has reviewed spaces and the recommendation is attached, and we recommend you approve the open enrollment limits as presented.
And what affects that? Just the class size in general?
Room, right? So if we have room, we look at what the classes are, like how many kids could we add without having to add another teacher? Right, and then it becomes a significant cost versus one more student coming in, or with our special education students, like do we have enough room with speech language, for example, which we just posted a position for because we need support in that area, or what's it gonna do to our case numbers within our, cross-categorical rooms or other special education areas. So that's what we look at. If we have room, we would take them because it's a benefit to our district, but if it's gonna cost us additional staffing, that's usually, that's how we kind of look at it.
Okay.
So our 6th and 8th grade classes are really are our biggest classes, I'm thinking.
Bigger, yeah.
Yeah.
It just depends, and then again, the high school obviously has a little bit more space because you get 4 classes that are
Right, 'cause you
moving
spread
around
them
a
out.
little bit.
That's like 10 per grade in the high school, that's pretty little.
Yeah.
So if we have, I'm just going off these numbers, so if we have 18 in the 7th grade that are gonna move down, or move up to 8th grade, and there's one space available, do we turn away 17 kids that are currently in our district?
Not that are in our district. If they're currently in our
Like
district,
as open enrollment?
they stay.
Oh, they.
So once you apply, you're in.
Right, there's,
Okay. You don't have to do it every year.
Yeah, we don't have, is there anywhere else, I don't think we don't have to do it. Once they're in, then we can consider them our students.
Okay.
So they're not in this limit, so we're not, we're not having, those families aren't going through this every single year.
Okay.
Once they're in.
And then six
the
through 12, they're in individual classrooms and they're moving all over the place, so it's easier to accommodate them. Does that make sense? They're not in one class for the whole day. kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
They're not in one grade for the whole day.
okay. Anyone?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I'll make a move that per criteria outlined in Board of Education Policy number 423, public school open enrollment, and as required under statutes PI 36.042, Wisconsin Administrative Code, statute PI 36.065A, and Wisconsin statutes 118.51A. The Board of Education for the School District of Lodi hereby adopts the administrative designated regular and special open enrollment education spaces. I have to take a breath for the 24-25 school year.
That's why there was a hesitation. No one really wanted to do
Nobody
it.
wanted to do that. I'll second that.
All right, motion by Adam, second by Terry. Sorry, lost my place. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
I was just looking at some numbers here, if the board is interested. It looks like during the 22-23 school year, about 7% of our total district population was open enrollment in.
Oh, interesting. That is interesting,
I just thought of it while I was sitting here.
because that's what Nick does. Thanks, Nick. That's interesting, actually.
What is 7%?
All right, WASB resolutions.
Each year, the Wisconsin Association School Board receives resolutions that are brought before WASB Delegate Assembly at the State Education Convention, which will happen next week. This gives delegates from schools around the state a chance to vote on these proposed resolutions, so things that the WASB may advocate for with the state legislature or other things, or, The board members are given an opportunity to review all the resolutions and then share whether or not they support resolutions through a Google survey. All 7 board members completed the process. As a result of the survey, the board supported all 23 resolutions, with 18 of them being supported unanimously and 5 of them being supported on a 6-1 vote. So the board can choose one of the following 2 options. Just have our delegate vote, following the information shared through the Google survey, and kind of, and Terry Haig is our delegate, and just say that Terry needs to follow what was the will of the board. Or the board can have a discussion on all 23 of these if they would like, based on the
Yeah, more discussion.
The idea behind doing this is like,
Right, it's a
so,
directive.
yeah, so obviously you don't need to have discussion on 18 of them because you're unanimous in them.
Right.
And they cover all sorts of different things, and there's 5 of them that were a 6-1 vote. So again, I don't know if you need to have another more conversation, or you just, again, you don't have to take action, or you can move that Lodi's WASB delegate representative vote for the resolution that aligns with the board's direction.
And for those of you who haven't sat in these things, it's a huge, huge room full of people from all over Wisconsin. There's many discussions, there's, voting, it's not, I mean, we carry power, we carry an opinion, but
One of 400.
we're pretty diluted.
Well, and last year's got,
I know.
Crazy.
And I can't remember what this thing was.
I don't remember either, but.
It wasn't anything that we think was important this year. And a lot of these things, WASB just makes a statement about. It doesn't mean it happens. It means
just a
that
position
it's a
statement.
position statement. So if the state or the federal or whatever does something else, we gotta follow that if it has to do with us. WASB makes a position, and we have a little teeny position within the big position. That's pretty much it.
I'll make a motion to have the Lodi WASB delegate representative vote for the resolutions that align with the board's direction on each resolution.
I'll second.
Motion by Sarah, second by Adam. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, our board self-evaluation.
Yeah, so all the board members completed and submitted a self-evaluation information to the district office that is attached in board docs. The next step is for board members to review that information, determine strengths and weaknesses of that document, or things you want to do. When you look at all that information, I reviewed it, and really the board generally rated themselves very high in most areas. The board members also able to add comments, which were listed in the document. There are a couple themes. We were talking about themes earlier. There's a couple themes that, when you look at the comments section, self-evaluation, that might be worthy, I thought, of board discussion. One, there seemed to be a desire to learn more about school finance, which is not shocking.
I'm doing
right?
that next week.
We're on a board, right? And school
Next
finance
week we'll
drives a
have
lot of what we
it
do.
again.
So there is a person from Baird who's scheduled to come to the February Facility and Finance Committee meeting, so I would invite all board members to attend if they would like, to learn more about School District Lodi's financial position, and then obviously going to, as Sarah was just talking about, going to the State Education Convention. There are a lot of sessions on school finance that people can go to, and there can be further discussion as we, after you go through that, if there's other things we want to bring in and talk about school finance. It's such a complicated
I'll probably be
process.
meeting with Brent to
Yep,
help me.
yep. The second one was board development. I think there was a lot of favorable comments about some of the board development work that has been done, and knowing that we're going to have 2 new board members in the spring, at least, if not 3 new board members, that it would maybe be good for us to do some more time together for 2 things. One, that board development opportunity, but then also just that positive social interaction time, which again, when we sit at a board, you don't get to do, or a committee meeting, you don't really get to do.
Yeah.
Where when we did some of the board development, that was one of the most powerful things that came out of that, was just spending time together.
Yeah, I
Or
think
going
that's
to the state
huge.
convention too,
Yeah.
like spending time together. So we can look at board development, like looking at maybe even having another, like a summer retreat that would go, or bringing like someone like Drew Hallworth back in for a refresher of some of the things that we did. Because, again, if we get to the spring, you know, half the board may not have been here when Drew
Yeah.
worked with us
Yeah.
a couple years ago. So
No, I think it's great, and just, you do that stuff, and I just feel like we work together better, we understand where people are coming from. But no, I think, and I like that self-evaluation, it kind of makes you, it's almost like a little reset, like, am I doing this, am I doing this, you know? So,
The other piece that comes right now is to look at our collective commitments. When we put those together, we said we would review them and reaffirm them when we did our self-evaluation and in the summer. So July, last year we did in August. But here's an opportunity, either what we did last in July or August is we read through them all. Everybody took a section and read through it. You could do that again, or we could just have a discussion about them, how you feel that we're doing with them. So it's really up to the board how they want to handle it. And they're all here in front of us. So the community knows that the board put together collective commitments that they agreed to when they worked together here as a board. And they're in front of us at every
All
board
the
meeting.
time. They are laminated.
yeah, I mean, did we want to do that tonight, or you're saying like the next?
No, I think, again, it can be either one. Either we can do the same thing we did last time and just read through, and everybody take a section and read through it out loud. Or we can just have a general conversation about how are they working, are we still committed, you know, and making, going back and committing to, recommitting ourselves, holding yourselves accountable to these collective commitments. Because
Yeah.
really your collective commitments, and you guys have to police yourself if you're holding yourselves accountable to it or not.
Would it be good to do it after the election? With any new members that might be joining the board, or are you thinking
do it
before
again
that, or?
Well, what we talked about when we did this is that we would do it this time of year in
Yeah.
the summer.
Oh,
But I
okay.
also
So we
think
would
It's a
do it.
checkpoint.
it would be something that's shared with every new board member when they come onto the board. If you remember, I went through a whole board onboarding process, and these were part of the process that I go through as well.
I think it's nice to read it through just because.
I was just
the
gonna say, I
community
think we
gets to
should, because
hear
I
it.
would like the,
Yeah.
public, you know,
Get to hear
to
it.
see what we always are looking at too, so.
Right. What we did and
So
what we
I broke it down, like a way you could do that, if you look, there's a memo in there that each person could take a section, or someone's gonna have to take Scott's section.
We can do it.
I was just gonna say, I don't know why I was gonna say, Adam, did you want to take Scott's section? section, I don't know why, but. Okay, so our collective commitments, behaviors and processes that lead to highly effective discussions and high-quality decisions, ensuring every student achieves their full potential. I'm supposed to read this part, right?
So Christie,
Just
you
wanna
gotta
make
read the
sure.
first
I
paragraph.
don't
'cause
wanna
it-
take somebody else's.
Yeah, have Christie read the first paragraph, because you read the first paragraph last time. So I rotated everybody one, so you read a different section.
Oh,
Okay.
fit, so organized.
The Lodi School Board has established these collective commitments that represent pledges to oneself and to other board members. They were created through open discussion and a thorough multi-step revision process. Board members will uphold these commitments and hold their colleagues to them as well. The board's collective commitments will also become part of all new board members' orientation. During the board's December self-evaluation and July meeting, the board will reflect on how well the commitments are being observed. These check-ins are included on the board calendar and will appear on the meeting agenda under boardsmanship.
So we try to follow Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is we want our students and our staff to be able to reach self-actualization at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is the desire to achieve one's full potential and pursue their goals. But they can't do that unless they have a base built underneath them of things as at the bottom of the base would be as simple as their psychological needs, such as air and heating and clothing and hygiene and light and food and shelter and sleep. And then on top of that, they need safety, right? So they need health, personal, emotional, and financial security. On top of that, they need to be loved and belonging. So they need family and friendship and trust and acceptance. And then on top of that, they need esteem, respect, self-esteem, dignity, accomplishment, and recognition. And if all of that can be provided and build each level of that up, you can get to self-actualization, which is the desire to achieve one's full potential and pursuing their goals.
That's a great way to present that. Thank you.
The other thing that's underneath there is who we represent. So as a board, we represent 1,500 students within this district. And those students, we need to understand, can be students who are individualized and unique, or they can be categorized into different groups. For example, they can all be in third grade, or they can be gifted, as we talked about earlier, or athletic, or artistic, or in high school, or whatever the grouping could be, right? And we also need to consider all of the groups that the students can be in. And these students, we need to consider them as individuals, and we need to consider them all equally. They're all the same, or all carry the same weight and burden. We also need to understand that these students are not experiencing the same K-12 education that all of us up here went through, that it's very different for them than what we saw, and that they're immersed in technology, gaming, and online social interaction. And we need to do our best to seek to understand their perspectives on the agenda items that we handle on a monthly basis that we go through. We also have 225 different employees within our staff that work directly with our students at all levels. And we need to understand that each staff member and each staff member's role in the district and how they interact directly with those students. We also have to work with the parents and the community, forming authentic partnerships based on trust and communication. Our parents in our community also can be individualized or categorized just like the students into many different groups. We need to consider all of the groups and all of the individuals equally. Now, next.
All right, Terry.
Right, you're prior to board.
I am. So prior to board meetings, endeavor to attend all regular and special board committee meetings, monthly meetings, finance, facility, policy, curriculum, contract and review, and other assignments you have agreed to take as CISA, OSC, LCAT, and co-curricular report. Come prepared to meetings, having read all materials and board docs and emails that pertain to that meeting. Clarify any questions or concerns on agenda items with the administration prior to the meeting. Board members should research agenda items on their own, independent of what is presented in board docs. Bring relevant data and information to the discussion from credible sources. Bring copies of these data and information for other board members. Endeavor to arrive at meetings 10 minutes early. Engage in a brief informal check-in with other board members and administration.
So during a meeting, we are provided a copy of the norms of collaboration document for each board member in blue. We will respect community members giving public input and those presenting to the board. Board meetings should not start with all members in complete agreement. Agreement is what comes out of covering an agenda item with a detailed briefing by administration or special presentation, thorough discussion amongst board members and administration, and clarifying questions. Clarifying questions at meetings and events are necessary for deep understanding of agenda items. More detailed explanations helps others in the room and those watching board events online. It is our job to educate each other and the community on matters that pertain to the efficient functions of the school district. Members should discuss agenda items with truth and heart using factual information. Refrain from using assumptions, speculation, and vague memories. Discussion should be collaborative and open, with individual board members speaking in turn. Do not take discussion points personally, and respect each other's viewpoints, even if they do not agree with your own. Encourage conflicting opinions from other board members, and play devil's advocate if there are no opposing opinions proffered. Help and encourage other board members to give their individual viewpoints during discussions. Clarify your own viewpoints, and try to paraphrase each other board members' viewpoints to help the group understand everyone. Should I just keep going?
During,
I should go.
No.
Adam.
Adam.
Well, it's technically Adam, but Ann, do you want to keep going, or
no, I'll
just,
go.
Adam did a lot already?
During information-rich or lengthy discussions on agenda items, board members can and should jot down short notes of their thoughts so they may interject them when it is their turn to speak. During discussions, be self-aware of how you come across to other board members and the community. Speak clearly so everyone can hear. Maintain eye contact when speaking directly to other individuals, and listen deeply to others using both eyes and ears. Refrain from side conversations and rehashing the discussion points. Having a thorough and open discussion is the ultimate goal for each agenda item. It is okay to leave an agenda item and not be in agreement with the final outcome. However, whatever the board decision is at the end of the discussion on an agenda item, all members of the board agree to accept and respect that decision after the meeting. To be an effective board, we need to be honest and clear with each other and present a united front to those we serve. Any conflicts with other board members or administration should be held until the end of the meeting and then dealt with at that time, or in a closed session where we discuss personnel matters. After a meeting, too? After a meeting,
You're just gonna
relax.
do 75% of it today, sorry.
This is a real important one. So after a meeting, relax and reflect. Take a break. Breathe. Before our next meeting, share any concerns with the board president or the district administration so they may be addressed before the next meeting.
Norms of collaboration. Pausing. Pausing before responding or asking a question allows time for thinking and enhances dialogue, discussion, and decision-making. Paraphrasing. Using a paraphrase starter that is comfortable for you. So, or as you are, or you're thinking, and following the starter with an efficient paraphrase assists members of the group in hearing and understanding one another as they converse, and make decisions. Posing questions. Two intentions of posing questions are to explore and to specifically think. Questions may be posed to explore perceptions, assumptions, and interpretations, and to invite others to inquire into their thinking. For example, what might be some conjectures you are exploring? Use focusing questions such as, which students specifically, or what might be an example of that? To increase the clarity and precision of group members' thinking, inquire into others' ideas before advocating one's own. Putting ideas on the table. Ideas are the heart of meaningful dialogue and discussion. Label the intention of your comments. For example, here's one idea, or one thought I have is, or here's a possible approach, or another consideration might be.
Providing data. Providing data, both qualitative and quantitative, in a variety of forms, supports group members in constructing shared understanding from their work. Data have no meaning beyond that which we make of them. Shared meaning develops from collaboratively exploring, analyzing, and interpreting data. Paying attention to self and others. Meaningful dialogue and discussion are facilitated when each group member is conscious of self and of others and is aware of what he or she is saying and how it is said, as well as how others are responding. This includes paying attention to learning styles when planning, facilitating, and participating in group meetings and conversations. Presuming positive intentions. Assuming that others' intentions are positive promotes and facilitates meaningful dialogue and discussion, and prevents unintentional put-downs. Using positive intentions in speech is one manifestation of this norm. So, again, just to kind of explain, we did this in, did we do 3 or 2 meetings?
3 meetings.
3 meetings, and we put all of this together as a board to really work better together, and I think it's helped tremendously. I love that it's sitting here, and I love that we actually go through it twice a year, because it's just a reminder. Because yes, I try to look at it, but I don't read it every board meeting, so,
Well, and we all helped put it together.
we did.
And then we
And
used
we
that
realized-
same thing to do the green, kind of talk about green space, so
Yep.
we've used it as a format.
So no, I think it's great as a board, and I like that we go over it, and I just kind of wanted to explain that, because it was a lot of reading, and I'm sure people are like, okay. But, it kind of explains. And it's probably good for the candidates to hear too.
Absolutely.
Because this is kind of what our goals are and what we strive for, so. So do we need, does anybody want to change anything, or add anything, or, I think it's pretty thorough, I feel like we do pretty well, but if somebody has anything to add, we can always change it up a little too. Okay,
I'd like to move to reaffirm our pledge to continue to utilize and hold ourselves accountable to the School District of Lodi Board of Education collective commitments.
I'll second.
all right, motion by Terry, second by Angie. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, our state convention participation.
Yeah, a reminder that State Education Convention is next week in Milwaukee. The following board members will be going: Heather Barron, Terry Haig, Sarah Ramish, and Adam Steinberg. And I think Mo shared a packet of information with you, contact information. So this is sort of a couple things that are on the agenda for
I
us,
know where to go.
as well as the, socially, as well as the conference itself. So
Pack your
look forward to
parkas.
seeing everybody. What's that?
It's always so cold there.
Yes, and it's gonna
Pack
be
your
cold.
parkas.
The weather's supposed to get cold.
It's gonna be,
Yes, and thank you to the district for
yes.
giving us this opportunity. Our school board election update.
Yeah, so I know Heather mentioned this, but we have 3 seats up for election. 2 board members are not seeking re-election, Angie and Christy. But there are 6 people who have declared their intent to run for these 3 positions, so there's no need for a primary election this year. So the candidates will be on the ballot for the general election, which is scheduled for Tuesday, April 2nd. And the reason we don't need a primary is there's 3 open seats, so it takes 7 candidates to require a primary. It's twice plus 1, how many seats. So if you have 4 seats and you have 5 candidates, you would need a primary. So last year we had 5 candidates, we needed a primary
For 2 seats.
for 2 seats.
Mo
Yep.
was very happy about that, I bet.
So was our local
Saves
municipality.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
So
saves
our,
money, right?
our candidates who are running are Craig Geezy, Terry Haig, Sarah Ripp, Scott Burkett, Teresa Valencia, and Bill Whipperford. So good luck, and again, thank you for running. Heather said it before. It's a huge commitment, and I always appreciate anybody who's willing to put their name on a ballot and run for election. I've also reached out to all the candidates and invited them if they would like to sit down with me and have questions, I would try to answer any questions they have as they're going into the election season. And so I've heard back from most of them. And go from there.
That's one thing I learned at the convention, is we do very good with onboarding and talking to our candidates, where I talked to other boards and they were just thrown to the wolves.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, it's lucky to be you. Lodi doesn't do that, so.
My job is to set you up for success.
Yes. And we have no policies?
No.
Ew.
We didn't meet.
We didn't meet yet.
in December.
We meet later.
We'll
Don't
meet
worry,
later.
there'll be
They'll
more.
be there, don't
Oh,
worry.
there'll be more.
It was so weird to click on that and
I
say
know.
none.
I know, we'll check next
When will
time.
those be?
Mo, we can put them up, they all can be up, we can upload the policies.
Are they policies or are they?
They're administrative guidelines.
Guidelines.
Yeah.
We
We'll
are
upload
probably
them.
done with the policies. I think.
We have one policy, no,
We are revisiting one?
yeah,
I
we
think
have to
there was
revisit a
some
policy.
wording.
Yep.
All right, gifts and donations.
I will make a motion to accept with great gratitude the donation of the $1,000 from Brian Schultz Insurance to the pool crew program.
Second that.
Motion by Sarah, second by Terry. Any more discussion? Except thank you, thank you, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0. And our committee reports. CISA 5.
So we just had a regular, short type of board meeting because it was virtual, and so we didn't go into great depth on anything, except for the WASB resolutions.
Oh, yeah, I appreciated that last year when
Yeah.
I was on that. I liked
Well-
hearing everybody's,
Last year, it was like twice as many. This year,
yeah.
Right.
a lot. Most of these are resurrected from old resolutions. They're not new resolutions.
Yeah,
So they
it
weren't,
wasn't a ton, but,
and it wasn't, none of these were controversial.
yeah. Okay,
So that was it.
all right. Co-curricular items, slash report.
Wrestling, over break, the wrestling team traveled to compete in the Bi-State Classic Wrestling Tournament. As a team, Lodi placed 13th out of the 72 teams in attendance.
Nice.
Place winners include Henry Copen, 6th, Drew Lochner, 8th, Isaiah Grospkoff, 10th, and Brady Dorshorst, 11th. This past Friday, the varsity team competed at the Duffy Invitational held in Port Washington. 9 of the 12 Lodi wrestlers in attendance placed in the top 8, including Brady Dorhorst, 2nd, and Henry Copen, 2nd. The next chance to catch the wrestlers at home is at Rock the Gym versus Beaver Dam on Friday, January 19th. If you've never been to Rock the Gym, it's a blast. It really
What time
is.
does
It
it
is.
start again? By what time?
Varsity wrestling starts at 5:30.
5:30,
Okay.
okay, great.
Boys basketball, the boys basketball team has an overall record of 6-3. Last week, they won a close game at Marshall by a final score of 64-63. This week, they start conference play and will travel to Lakeside Lutheran on Tuesday.
No, they won't.
No.
Oh, yeah, no, they won't. Sorry,
They won't.
sorry, scratch that.
Reschedule.
Hopefully, they will host Poinette on Friday night.
Of course it
Girls basketball, the girls basketball team has an overall record of 3-9 and a conference record of 2-3. The girls basketball team had a huge conference win on Friday night, topping Poinette at home by a final score of 54-49. That is always a huge, huge rivalry. The girls play the next 3 games, because they're not taking on Adams Friendship on Tuesday, and Columbus on Thursday. The boys hockey co-op, the South Central Navigators hockey team is 1-12 on the season, with their lone win coming against Stoughton Watertown Luther Prep. The Navigators take on Monona Grove tomorrow night in Madison, and nope, they won't. Sorry, scratch that. I am so sorry.
Sue Bafford's gonna
I
be
just
very
read this
busy.
and I know.
I shouldn't even have brought it up.
They host Beloit Memorial for a home game at the Wanakee Ice Pond on Thursday night. Girls hockey co-op. The Icebergs co-op hockey team is 2-10 with a conference record of 2-4. Recent wins include a 1-0 win at Viroqua and a 1-0 win over Beaver Dam. They host Sun Prairie West tonight and Beloit Memorial on Thursday before heading to Cedarburg on Saturday. The mock trial team has had a busy last few weeks participating in the Shorewood and Sun Prairie West scrimmages. This past weekend, they competed in the Brookfield Central Knockout Tournament. Members of all 3 teams took home perfect scores, including our representative Caleb over there, Matt Chambers, Natalie Detert, and Lawrence Wood. This weekend, Lodi will hold their home tournament up at the Sauk County Courthouse in Baraboo. Congratulations, Caleb.
So can anybody just go?
I got one more.
Shoot.
Oh,
Sorry.
I got one
just
more,
had a-
sorry. It's busy now because we have forensics as well. It's off to a great start with the forensics tournament scheduled for Saturday, January 27th at the DeForest High School. Lots of
Nice.
activities going on.
What was your question?
I was saying for mock trial, anybody can just go and watch, right?
Yeah, so you can just go and watch when you start getting into regionals and state, you can't wear Lodi gear. right? So they can't let you can't
Really?
Yeah,
have stuff that,
so
it doesn't-
visitors
Yeah,
watch
you're
it.
just, you're just watching, you're not
Oh.
like for one TV, the other, you can't, and, you just go and support. It's
Good
amazing. If you ever have the chance to watch state
wanted
mock
to.
trial, it is phenomenal.
I'd like to see it
For
at the
both,
Bear
every
Brook
team,
Courthouse.
but it's
Yeah.
phenomenal.
And you can't obviously say anything when you're watching.
No,
No, you'll get kicked out.
It's kind of like golf. I like it though. You just,
It's
Same
not
with
like
like-
TV.
Yeah. no, you
Forensics
watch.
too, you just
say
be
anything.
quiet.
yeah.
Forensics are quiet as well.
Well,
It's
great job.
amazing the work they do. Yep.
OSC.
I was not able to attend the last meeting. They're continuing to work with Cliff Thompson, and I'll have a lot more to tell you when I get caught up. I'm gonna sit down with Jen, get more caught up on that.
Awesome. All right, Personnel Committee report.
Oh, where? That's me
Just
too.
go right back to you.
You're right back to me, yep. So we talked about the survey, which we discussed here, and then we, we also have the beginnings of discussion of support staff compensation structure of plans. We're gonna look at that. So I'll be attending a series of, I guess, 3 meetings with support staff representatives to try to talk about, issues with the current system, possible avenues to explore for changes. And so that is coming up, and I will be sitting in on that committee. I'm also on the insurance committee. So the, I think I mentioned this the last time, the insurance plan is reaching the end of its 3-year, and so it's time to look at health insurance again. So we're
Yay.
continuing to do that. That's ongoing, and
Sounds
that
fun.
will be, that new one will need to be in place by the end of the summer because it ends in August. So, and I think that was it.
Thank you. Curriculum committee did not meet since the last board meeting. Same with policy, but facility and finance.
Scott asked me if I could do the report for him. So we talked about band uniforms. Band needs new uniforms. They're at the end of their lifespan. We asked for numbers in the high school, numbers in the middle school, of who's participating in band. And because it's dropped during COVID, but it's middle
going
school
back up.
is rocking the world.
I saw those numbers. I was like, that is awesome.
Wonderful to see.
It's astronomical in the middle school, so that will be coming to the high school. So we had him look to see if he could find used uniforms, because there are a lot of very large schools that buy uniforms multiple times during the year and use them for special events and then get rid of them.
Wow.
But he couldn't find any that would match what we needed.
We can't use red.
No,
Can't be red.
red would not work for us.
So we had to figure out what the final number is that he was gonna purchase, and he's bringing back 2 completed versions of those for us to see and for
The
the
band
school to
director.
see, and, and to figure out what they are.
And the
then-
cost for each one.
Well, and a final cost
Yeah.
on them, so we have an actual number to approve, so that'll be coming back. We then toured, as was already mentioned, the weight room and the wrestling room with Dave Poles, Michelle Poles, Mr. Jelnick was there, Sue Member was there, Cody Enders was there, and Kurt Wilson was there, and then some of the committee members, and Vince was there. Sorry to say, this is my opinion, and I don't know if you'll agree with me or not, but the weight room is unacceptable. The
It was eye-opening.
flooring is the flooring that's been there for 20
I wanted
years.
to go to
It's
that
disgusting.
meeting and I couldn't get there because I
I'm
wanted to
sorry.
see it.
The benches are ripped and torn, the machines are, the paint is chipping off, it's
Is it
just,
always going up?
I wanted to
I know, I
cry when I
should.
was in there.
I could just go with my son. I'm sure he'd love it.
We clearly need to move some money over in that direction and get some of that stuff fixed or repaired or what, so they're gonna come back with information on that for us.
And I'm assuming all those people will be part of that
Yes.
planning process.
And
Because
again-
they are in there all the time knowing what is needed. Yeah. That seems like polls
Yeah,
and
$0 to the district for
The
that.
planning, the planning.
Look at
To
it.
look at, no, to look
Right, to
at it.
look at it,
They're not
yeah.
charging
For
us
the
anything
architects.
extra,
For the
extra
architects.
architect, yes.
Yes, but what I'm saying is
Yes.
when we do that too, we'll have our staff in there,
Of course.
obviously with their opinions and,
And, teachers are very resourceful
yeah.
and very humble. And, they just, as all of you know, they just make it work.
Yeah.
you know, with what they've got. And it,
Yeah.
you know, really seeing that weight room was,
Not good. I mean, it was good that we
I mean,
saw
it's
it.
good
Yes.
that we saw it, but it's
Yeah.
really,
It's not
it needs some,
in good shape.
it needs some attention.
Okay, well, that's good.
It gets a lot of use.
Yes.
Right, and
Yes.
that's why it
It's a
needs
well-used
attention,
spot.
Yes.
because it's being used so heavily.
No, it does get used all.
We also made it
all the
clear that we do not have unlimited funds to do everything tomorrow. And so we would like to look at a tiered approach. What can we get fixed right now? What can we fix in a year? What can we fix down the road?
Planning.
Yeah, planning.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
that will all be done in there. Then we did the bus contract, which we already talked about. And then our scholarships, we have 2 big scholarships that are gonna get moved into Madison Community Foundation so they can look after them for us.
Awesome.
I think that covers it. Oh, no,
Yeah,
no, the biggie.
Big
Sorry.
something that covers.
Yes. Speaking of, the elementary school OSC roof is coming, so that's the next thing that's on the referendum, that will be done, and then the high school roof after that. And so those bids are gonna go out, and those numbers are gonna come in and come back through the whole system so that it can get worked on this summer.
In the summer.
Both of them are just,
No, the elementary OSC
okay,
over here first,
okay. All
and the high
right.
school. The high school split over 2 years,
Okay,
3 years, excuse me.
all right, thank you. All right, future meetings, next regular school board meeting will be Monday, February 12th at 5:30.
70th birthday.
Oh, Terry's bringing treats for everybody?
Terry's bringing a bunch of-
You all bring treats. All the treats.
Starting at 5:30 with closed session, 6:30 will be open session. Our board administrator retreat is Monday, January 29th at 5:30. Is that here?
No, library.
Library at high school,
At the library, okay.
and we'll have food.
That's
You'll be
always a
fine.
good thing, right? Our curriculum committee meeting will be Wednesday, January 24th at 4:30. Our policy committee meeting will be Wednesday, January 24th at 6 p.m. Our facility and finance will be Wednesday, February 7th at 6 p.m. And our personnel will be Wednesday, February 7th at 4:30. And I believe we do not need to reconvene into closed session.
Just, in honor of Carrie's birthday, we're gonna have a gallery walk.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yay.
She does love those, so.
I do like
I will have
those.
staff here, so that'll be beginning, the first part of the board meeting will be a gallery walk going through the strategic plan implementation and what's the progress that's been made this year.
Perfect. Okay, good to know. And that obviously is the public. is
Yeah,
more than
absolutely.
welcome to do that too, so that's always a good thing to put out there. All right.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, 2 seconds.
Motion by Adam, second by Sarah. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?